Oh, we are early. An early Hawaiian T-shirt Friday. A lovely day to you. Rhett, good morning.
Good morning.
What's up? How we doing? No
I
Hawaiian
forgot to
shirt.
I forgot to put the thing on the.
You look good. You don't have any.
There's no. I thought there was a glare.
Tiny, but not as bad as it was the other day. Whatever you're doing, it's good today. We got producer Jack back. He told me he's concerned about you. Does he have reasonable cause for concern?
Well, I mentioned that perhaps there was a tickle starting to rear its head inside my head.
Right.
Not happy about it.
Yeah.
Hate being sick.
I've been doing the sinus rinse, and it's
a
little disturbing what's coming out.
Yeah, but you got to do it.
You're like, wow, that's a half-eaten burger. How did that get in there? That's no good. Jack seems like he's on the mend. He's feeling better.
Good for you, Jack.
I'm almost there, and let's hope that you're not patient number 3.
I've got a lot of medical background. I'll be able to battle through.
Does it? Well, you're fighting.
What's it? What do you call it? Quasi-science?
Pseudoscience, yeah.
Pseudoscience.
Well, look, I believe in it too. Like everyone has their pet pseudoscience things. Like there are no studies on Earth that prove vitamins do anything. Everyone loves vitamins. Like, okay, I'm in on that. I'm in on vitamins. But yeah, I've been hammering the vitamin C. It is that time of year. It still doesn't feel quite like we're winter, but this is absolutely the time of year people get a little sick. So stay on top of that. Let's get right to it. It is our opening thoughts from McLeod Law, a contest in Boston last night. It's funny. They went on that road trip and they played Vegas and Utah and got pantsed twice. And both their goalies had their worst start of the year. The work ethic of the team were the 2 worst starts of the year. And we came in here and said, okay, the start was cute. That's a rough run of play. Now, how's this going to go if they keep getting blown out? What are the veterans going to do? It's really been none of that since it's happened. You know, they played Jersey really tough. They played Edmonton competitively. They've got 3 of a possible 4 points on the road. They came back and won, including an overtime in Montreal, and they erased a 2-goal deficit last night in Boston to get to overtime. This has been unbelievable.
Yeah, they don't seem to be as despairing like we are.
They're not as negative as us? How's that possible?
They're not throwing in the towel after
You're more optimistic than the 3 of us?
So, no, you got to give everybody credit. Huska running the bench, obviously getting the message through. He said the veteran guy, this is about the players and the veterans. Clearly, they're taking ownership of it. And the results, goaltenders have responded. I don't know. It's a lot of fun to watch. How long does it continue? Do you want it to continue? The other reason we ask these questions is because we kind of had, for lack of a better term, throwing in the towel on the season, and here they are hanging around beating teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're in a playoff spot, and we're almost the midpoint of November here. Like you start looking at where they could be in a week. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but I am starting to have doubts they can be a bottom 5 team in this league.
That's exactly. I don't want a non-playoff 15th. 14th.
Peak pain is 11th. I've explained. Yes. Usually peak pain in the NHL is the first team that misses, like 17th overall, because you don't get playoff revenue. You get the lowest pick of all the teams that miss the playoffs, and your fan base is just like, and that's kind of where the Flames lived for a while in the 2010s after you retired and in sort of the lost Jerome years at the end there. But peak pain this year would be to finish 11th from the bottom, because that's when your pick will go to Montreal. If it's top 10, you get to keep it. If they want to actually be good, and maybe it's just a work ethic, culture, goaltending, structure thing, and if they could want to, maybe sneak in somehow, I think people are going to be very excited about that. They're not going to be, poo-pooing that.
No. You make the playoffs.
But I just wonder if they can hold up this play for 82 games and give them credit. It's lasted longer than we thought thus far.
Yeah, and it is a lot about effort and compete, and I don't know what they're clearly not giving up. They're outscoring teams in the third, and the goaltending, we were hopeful it'd be good, and it is.
It's been better than we could have expected.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wipe away, give them each one mulligan, it's the Utah-Vegas games, worst games of the season for each goalie. Outside of that, they're probably getting top 10 goaltending this season from Vladar and Wolf, which is a great development for 2 different reasons. Because one, you wanted to see if Wolf could be a starter in the league early indications are that's not crazy at all. Like, that's absolutely a normal outcome. He could be a 1. And then secondly, Dan Vladar is up, and you love Devin Cooley. Boy, if he played well, you might be able to turn him into something. Well, that could happen too.
It doesn't seem like a bad combo to have to run with. And if you are having a chance at a playoff, well, it's going to be on the backs of the goaltending. They're going to have to be good throughout. Maybe the back-to-back thing is the way to do it. I don't know.
They alternated all but twice, and it was coming off the Vladar shutout against Jersey. He got to go again against Edmonton, also traditionally very strong against Edmonton. And then last night was the first time of the season that Dustin Wolf has got in back-to-back games. I imagine it'll go back to Vladar, Buffalo, Saturday.
And not because of bad play.
Just because the rhythm works. And then you got a back-to-back, Monday, Tuesday. That's going to be tough. You're flying all the way back for one game, and then after that, you're flying right to Vancouver. Tough 2 games, LA Monday.
Bring Cooley up. Bring Cooley up on Monday. Hear me out.
Cooley up. You bring him up, you got to put him back through waivers. I'm not bringing him up.
Oh, he's going to go through. Damn it. Okay.
Although
I was going to say, send one of the goalies straight to Vegas from Buffalo, or to Vancouver from Buffalo.
Wolf should just go right now.
Yeah.
Wolf, just go. You go to Calgary, and then Dan Vladar, after you play in Buffalo, you go right to Vancouver. Use some e-bucks. Who cares?
Yeah. Let's go.
Incredibly busy show. Jeff Marek will join us at 11. He disappeared from the 32 Thoughts podcast at the draft. He has been resurrected right here on the Nations Network. The Sheet, a new podcast, will be kicking off next month. We'll check in with him, get his thoughts on the Flames, and we'll figure out exactly what the podcast is. He's like a major trivia nut. I've got my 2 favorite hockey trivia questions I'm going to ask him. I think he's going to nail them both because he is that guy, but they're fun water cooler trivia pieces. Also, Darren Dreger is going to join us in about 10 minutes' time. And the Canadian Premier League final is tomorrow at Echo Field, Rhett, 11 a.m. Not 11 a.m. That's the Flames game. 1 p.m. I'm going to be there at 11.
Okay.
Hydrated.
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
11 a.m. starts.
11 a.m. Buffalo Sabres, 1 p.m. Cavalry, and the Wranglers play at night. You can make it a major triple header if you want to, Rhett. It's all there for you.
Nice lineup.
The commissioner of the CPL I chatted with an hour ago. We'll play that at the end of the show, as well as they're looking at expansion. They look at what Cavalry's created here as absolute flagship franchise for the league. And there was an awards banquet last night. I had a crazy night last night. So it was CPL awards banquet where they gave away player of the year, defender of the year, coach of the year, all that stuff. Then it was back home to catch the second half of that Thursday nighter. Jack and I have been talking about this Thursday nighter for over a week. It was going to deliver. It was going to be high flying. Boom tried to throw the wet blanket on it yesterday on the show. It was an absolute banger. As Jamar Chase we're off for 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like this, he had a season worth of fantasy points last night alone. Jack, game of the year?
Game of the year for sure.
I'm glad I didn't get a moment of it.
We had a lot of overs. We did okay. We really the accounts flush after last night. It was attack the passing defense of the Ravens and a bunch of other angles that we talked about on our show yesterday. It was a good night. And then from there, right to the PVR, Flames and Bruins. Didn't get to see it live, but was impressed with the effort. Down 2, they could have easily said, hey, you know what? The Bruins better team. That's all good. We got to move on to Buffalo, but they keep fighting, man. What did you like the Bruins? Did you like the Flames? There was a lot more special teams than I thought I'd see.
I don't know. Boom poo-pooed the football game, and I don't want to put poo-poo the Flames coming back from a 3-1 deficit in the third. I thought they were Boston did not look strong.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Now, I'm thinking they didn't look strong because maybe I'm under or not giving enough credit to the Flames and what they are. Maybe they're better than what I've given them credit for. So, but in my opinion, the Bruins didn't look strong. The Flames were more than capable of hanging in with the Bruins.
Yeah.
I think I just expect the Bruins, like everybody else, to be kind of that upper echelon.
Yeah.
I don't think they are.
I don't know if they're that anymore, and they might be mid-season, but there's a lot of new faces there. I think they got to figure out what they are. Because when we used to watch them the last 5-10 years, they would just take over games, and you didn't
just grind you and beat you down and just control the pace and the play and hard to play against. It didn't look that hard to play against. And
when you got the Zad Dog out there every other shift, it seems going to be tough to get some even strength flow going because
it's adventurous.
Coincidentals and minors and punching guys in the head. It was a lot. Our opening thoughts brought to you by McLeod Law. Call Peter Klein. Here's his number, 403-254-3864. or visit mcleod-law.com. Social media, it's at McLeod Law LLP. You know, Peter Klein, the personal injury guy. But of course, also, if you're having issues with a disability insurance claim, call them up. Of course, if your company is refusing to pay you, call Peter. He'll get you the disability benefits you paid for and that you deserve. He'll get you back the peace of mind as well. The peace of mind that you paid for, whether it's personal injury, insurance issues, maybe you're going through a separation with your employer. Shane King can help you out on that front. Litigation and dispute resolution group. It's all there at McLeod Law for you. The Calgarians, the people that know how this city works, mcleod-law.com. I got a deal for you. Inflation's crazy. Everything's expensive. There's no deals anymore, right?
No deals. Can't get a deal.
BS. You got to work a little harder, though. Now, we got a deal for you right now. Nationgear.ca. It is part of our, it's an early start. It's a little appetizer to the Top Shelf Elf, our annual Christmas campaign that we run. ATB Financial has generously donated 25 seats to the Flames and Rangers up in the press level, the 3 Huns, where the real animals go to watch the Flames, cheer their hearts out. Not only is it the tickets, it's also food, drink, popcorn, malt, the whole deal. Every ticket comes with that. This is an embarrassingly low total right now. And last time it was low on the day it got given away, it jumped up about $1,000 by the end of the day. How much time is left? Less than 7 hours. We're going to close this. And the leading bid right now, we're talking like less than $15 a head. That's insane. The food alone's worth closer to 20. Never mind the ticket. Let's get this cranked up. You want a deal? Here it is, Rhett. 25. You and 24 of your best friends, or you go with the Rhett flying to Hawaii model. If you want your own section, you don't want to be bothered, and you want a lot of popcorn, malt, and soft drink, have your own section. Just go yourself.
Maybe there's overtime. You might need that extra popcorn and the malt.
That's right. I don't want the concessions closing down on me. We've got extra time here. I've got 3 in the holster here. If we have, in case there's 4 overtime periods, I got enough malts.
And if it's that much, I'm going to buy the damn thing.
Get the whole section. Let's go. Yeah, it's peanuts right now. So check that out. Maybe you got some buddies that are interested in, like, hey, if we each find 5 guys, well, there it is. There's 25. Let's do it. It is nationgear.ca, and just click on the Top Shelf Elf auction, which is one of the buttons right at the top of the screen. That, I mean, geez, I can't tell you a better deal than that, Rhett. I think I see people spending $100 a game. Oh, it's a secondary market. This is your deal right here, friends.
Screw inflation.
That's right. Turn the screws on
and
inflation.
Support a good cause.
Great cause. All the money raised going to Closer to Home, our annual Christmas campaign, helping families celebrate and enjoy Christmas a way they otherwise wouldn't be able to. So an incredibly great cause there. We're super excited to be partnered with them again for another year. Okay, lots to get to. We got football picks later. Boom's picks are in. He's starting to sweat. Like, he's not just sending picks in. He's giving us, like, here's why, and like he's explaining it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Pressure's on. You know, Jack's running away. He's almost perfect. You and I have been rock solid. Dean's under 500, and he's starting to sweat and grip. We'll get to that later. I did want to get your thoughts on a hit. We'll walk through that with Darren Dreger. But first, I want you to tell us about Buffalo tomorrow. Sabres have kind of been all over the map. A pretty impressive victory last night.
Yeah.
They walloped somebody last night. Who was it? And the Flames, I mean,
it was the Rangers.
Yeah, they chased Shesterkin. It was like 4-5-0. And that's, you know, this isn't the Sabres club we torched 3 days ago, apparently, because either the Rangers were sleepwalking or the Sabres have figured some stuff out. They're now 1 game under 500. They won 6-1. And Igor Shesterkin's night, 5-on-12. See ya.
That's probably a rarity, huh?
Yep. And we've seen a couple here. I think the first 2 trips to Calgary, Shesterkin got yarded. But, I mean, he might not have 10 games like that in his entire career. One was last night. What are the Rhett Warner, what's the network saying about
well, if we weren't so busy, we should have had Marty Braun on to talk, but he would never shut up and we would never get anything done. So
we might be done by puck drop at 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll just let him ramble on.
But the Sabres will come to town. We'll get Marty on ahead of that.
I don't know what the Sabres are. They should be better. Lindy Ruff was brought in to have a little more, make more demands. I think the common theme around town was that Granato was too soft on the players. Now, maybe it's taken some time for Ruff to get guys to buy in and to adapt to his coaching style. Maybe they're playing a little bit better, but the start was terrible. So I don't know. I still don't think they're not where I don't think they're making the playoffs. I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they've got some good youth. I think they're very young. They don't overwhelm you. Tage Thompson can rip the puck. Noodles was talking about some guys yesterday. Cousins is great. You'd love him on your team. I just don't know if there's anyone driving that bus. As far right, like Rasmus Dahlin is the captain. That's fine. He's a hell of a player. Owen Powers will grow into a great defenseman, but I don't think they're there yet.
I honestly think that's okay. Like, I think in years past,
except that you're 14 years in.
No, I know. But here's the thing. Like, if you want to go make a trade and give away a young player and lose that trade, you can do that right now. I think the way forward for the Sabres is to just trust that the talent will win out. Because I look and I don't know that there's many teams with as many players under the age of 25 that I think are really good players. Like, they might have the most in the league. But it doesn't happen right away. So it's that careful tight wire of, okay, we can't accept losing. We don't want a losing culture to set in. But on the flip side, we can't be throwing away a Quinn or a Cousins or a Paterka or a Power because we're so horny to like get a veteran in here who's going to be no good in 3 years anyway. Like,
and want to leave.
Weird. Yeah, it's a weird spot, right?
You have to build. They're a bit of a Winnipeg franchise where you're not going to go and wow anyone in free agency. Like, they signed that Taylor Hall. It was a one-off kind of thing. Yeah. I actually liked the move a couple of years back, but you really aren't going to go and be able to, without completely overpaying, have someone come into Buffalo and go, damn it, this is where I want to be, until you get good. And the only way you get good for the Sabres is just to keep building. And it sucks for the fans because, like I said, I don't think they make the playoffs this year. It's been 13 or 14 years already.
Yeah.
But you're right. What else are you going to do?
You're
try and fast track it? Just
that's not going to help.
Bad idea. Yeah. But I think you're right. I think they do have a base of nice young players, but I don't know who stands out as a star.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Tage Thompson would be, or did kind of have that aura 2 years ago. Last year, he came back down to earth. He does have the shot. He's got the skill and some size, but nobody's talking about him in the top 10 type of players in the league category, right? Like, they need somebody to elevate them and be able to I don't know. They're just not a heads and tails superstar that's there.
Yeah, and maybe that's what we see emerge over the course of the year. That would be exciting. And I think Tage has that potential. Certainly, Dahlin and Powers are drafted where they are because they're phenomenal talents. Flames have 3 points out of a possible 4, 2 trips to overtime and 2 games on this road trip. Buffalo's the third and final. Is the road trip already a success, or do you get greedy now? You need 4.
500 on the road's a good road trip, so there's no pressure. But I would think going into Buffalo, I think anyone that plays Buffalo is thinking we should win this game.
Yeah.
The Sharks. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think the Flames are probably looking at it going, no. This should be 2 points for us. But I actually think it might be one of the tougher ones because you're not getting up to play Buffalo at 1:00 on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
That's
tough.
Emotionally, you're going to have to find a way to be a professional about it and drag yourself into it because it's not a circled game on the calendar where you're excited to go play.
Let's look at the standings after last night. Schedule first. This is fine. Yeah. So they wrap the road trip, and then it's home for 1. The game against the Kings is the first of 5 of 6 at home. They will have that back-to-back where they're in Vancouver on Tuesday night, but the next 4 are at home. It's going to be a really interesting opportunity for the Flames who, their 2 worst games of the year have been on the road, the Utah and Vegas roadie. And I have liked their efforts at home. They really haven't laid an egg at home as I'm thinking about it. They hung with Winnipeg. They hung with Carolina, even though they lost those games. But 5 of 6 at home coming up after Buffalo. This is a chance where if you just keep collecting points, maybe you're not world beaters, but you're just pulling a point or 2 here or there. it's going to get to a spot where it's like, why not us for a second wild card? If,
but this is where you have to win those Buffalo games. You look at that schedule and you go, you got to win the Buffalo game, because the toughest games are going to be the Kings and Canucks back to back once you get home. Then you got Nashville, who this would be interesting to ask some of our guests, what the hell is going on in Nashville?
Yeah.
And the Islanders, where if you think you've got playoff aspirations, those are your 3 victories that you're kind of would want to put a check mark beside.
Rangers and Wild after that, 2 very good teams. I think the Wild have surprised, but I saw this Kirill Kaprizov stat. Every single road game this year, multiple points. He has more 3-point games than he has 0-point games. It's the guy is on an absolute heater, and he's doing it on the road. He's one of those guys where it's like, yeah, if this guy played in Montreal or Toronto or Chicago or New York, you'd hear a lot more about him than you probably do because he plays in Minnesota. But he's a mega stud. Like, this is one of the top 5 forwards in the league, I think.
Well, they kind of had that down year last year. The year prior, they did impressed, and maybe sometimes that's just how it goes. Make a coach and change. Although I thought Evanston was a pretty good coach.
So let's look at the West here. Flames in that top wild card after the win. Suddenly, they're not far back from Vancouver, who do hold 2 games in hand. They'll meet Tuesday night. Jets, another win last night, Rhett. 13 wins in their first 14 games. This is absolutely bonkers what's going on in Manitoba.
They got to be happy there. I'm just looking at the whole thing, and well,
look at the bottom if you want to talk. That's not going away. Another loss last night for Nashville, and
they're 14 games.
Stamkos scored his 4th. Roman Yossi's on the score sheet. It seems like a disjointed group, and I don't know that Barry Trotz can or wants to play the coach card. But you also can't let things status quo reign here. It's not good enough. They got to get this turnaround quick.
Can they turn it around? It just does seem dysfunctional. Again, we're so far away from it in a way, and I want them to fail because I kind of said I think they're doing the stupid things by trying to fast track this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you definitely were on that side of it. I also just think, look, there's too much talent for them to be that bad. Something's not right. Like last year's team without 3 veterans added, it was way better than this. So, is this a bad run of goaltending and shooting percentages? What the hell's happening here? I don't know. Yeah. Colorado's starting to pull up their socks here. You can see they're within 2 games of 500, within 3 points of the final playoff spot. They did get Cale Makar back last night. There was some concern he would miss some time. They are obviously a team we expect to get in there. Oilers, ditto. And then I don't really know how to feel about the rest. I mean, maybe there is, if Nashville is going to be an epic flameout, is that the one spot that opens for a Calgary, a Utah, or, a St. Louis, someone like that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, those teams that are in right now, it's funny because Noodle said it yesterday. And when you look at it, you're like, man, Nashville's in last. They're terrible. Well, if they put together a good week.
Yeah.
They're back in it. It's so early on that
you went 3 in a row. That look at them; they're a point out of the playoffs. Like, I know it's not that simple, but yeah, they're a good run away from being right where everyone thinks they should be.
And that's the scary part with the Flames is you've got Edmonton and Colorado. I fully expect at those 2 teams at minimum are going to find a way. Nashville's down there. The rest of those teams, I think you can compete with and beat, but. Sheesh. If those guys get going, how are you going to stay in that playoff hunt?
Let's look at the East, Jack, if you got a moment, just because we talked about the Sabres and where they're at. They're kind of hanging around better than we thought. Back-to-back wins will help with that. They're 2 points out of a playoff spot with a game in hand on Boston, but it's a pretty muddled pack in there. Detroit's played only 12 games. Rangers in a wild card. The Caps looked legit through their first dozen games, 9-3. And I still think Florida's the team to beat, given how good they've looked. They took 2 off of Dallas in Europe. They have handily beaten the Bruins. They've looked.
They don't take their foot off the gas pedal. It doesn't look like, right?
No, I think they beat Vegas as well. Night. Yeah, it's a club that certainly doesn't look like they had a short off season.
There's a group of teams there. Somebody's going to make a playoffs. You start to wonder about Boston.
Yeah.
And, just watching how they played last night, it doesn't seem overly inspired. But anyway,
I'll tell you what. if you saw a top 10 goalie last night, there's no overtime. Like I didn't think Korpisalo was bad, but we got to remember what their goaltending's meant to that group.
Yeah,
like,
that's
they were
true.
Basically a top 3 team the last 3 years for goaltending.
Jennings.
And now it's like, oh, Korpisalo's in. You're like, huh? That guy's a duster, and maybe he'll be fine this year. But it's not Ullmark and Swayman at the top of their game. Like Ullmark won the Vezina 2 years ago. Swayman's got the money. You expect him to round into form, but maybe that's just the missing thing. You get Zadorov out of the box a little more and get more saves. It sounds simple, but goaltending usually answers a lot of these riddles we ask ourselves.
Sure it does.
If you run a restaurant, you're too busy for this ad. If you're thinking about how to get more orders flowing, of course, you're thinking about new locations, how to get customers coming back, get more customers, all that. So you're already thinking about Square. Square has restaurant tech that helps more than 400,000 restaurants already. They do all these things plus more. So when you're thinking about your restaurant, think bigger and think Square. You can maximize sales by making it easy to process orders, whether that's in-house with a kiosk or a mobile POS for tableside orders. Also, they do online ordering, takeout, delivery. Find out why Square is so good at restaurant tech. Go to squareup.com to see why Square is awesome at this. 400,000 restaurants are already using Square tech. And again, if you think you're too busy to think about Square in this ad, nope. You already are thinking about Square. We are expecting our NHL insider Darren Dreger to join us. He's usually at 10:15, or I hope he's not busy. Is he just so used to us being late that he's now just wheeling in at 10:30, Jack?
Yeah, he's usually around 10:20 to 10:30.
Okay.
But yeah, to be fair, we do start late. I know last year he'd just pop up when we hadn't even started.
Boy. Yeah. I wonder what the common thread is. Somebody missing today. Yeah.
Have we had any bids on the?
I'll check
on the greatest deal in Calgary.
Yeah, again, the inflation buster. It's already up. Yeah, it's small increments, but it's moving. Yeah, we got a bid
in the right direction. Come on, folks.
Let's go.
Ring those phones.
I did want to ask you about something here. Eric Tahachik announced that he is hanging up his pen, so to speak, or his typewriter or keyboard.
He's done all of those.
Yes, he's lived through some different eras in media. Most recently, a long run at The Athletic, where he's written on the NHL nationally. But of course, back in the day, he was a scribe for the local paper covering the Flames. I always looked up to Eric. I was a huge sports fan in the city growing up, really keen to read his articles. A guy that was always dialed in. I remember seeing him on the satellite hot stove after 40 minutes on Hockey Night in Canada as a regular. Eric was the Calgarian that had a pulse on what was going on around the league. His final article is up at The Athletic. He says, thank you and goodbye to an incredible writing career. Did you have many interactions with Duha?
Well, the problem for our interactions was I was not high on his list of people to need to interview and talk to.
He was busier with the Jeromes and the Mikas, so to speak.
Yeah, it may have had more impactful players that he was trying to get some feedback from. So, but I do remember watching him on CBC and TV and doing all kinds of different stuff and reading the articles. Absolutely.
Yeah. So at tip of the cap,
you do the East-West with Morganti.
That was epic too. The East-West hot stove, Duha and Morganti. We used to have Morganti on the morning show. God, was he good. And like very different styles. But if you had Duha and Morganti, you got the full picture in terms of what was happening around the league. Always dialed in, and a huge barn burner salute to Eric Tahachik on an incredible writing career. I don't know that anyone has done the equivalent in this market that what Eric's done in this sport. So congrats to him on a great career, and hope he can enjoy, some less inky hands or whatever, the sore typewriter fingers. I don't know what it is. It's a new era.
I don't know if my kids do all the talk to text. They don't even type. It's just
my wife does that too.
Blah, 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 blah.
Oh yeah, Siri, tell Ryan I'll be a little bit late there today. All right, man. Yeah, good. I don't know how it does it, but even her Siri talks with an accent. I don't think you can do that. Jeez.
Good luck to Hatchuck. Good for you.
Yeah, congrats. Awesome. Let's talk football picks. We're not going to do them right now. Boomerson is in. You've submitted yours. Jack is the absolute he's on a heater. It's unbelievable. A 2-1 week feels like a real letdown for him. He's strung so many 3-0 weeks together. You wanted to audit the Bills with Rhett. He's very concerned about this line. Bills, what, only favored by 4.5 over Indy? What the hell's happening here?
I think it's just 4 on the road in Indy. Joe Flacco looked horrible last week. What's going on there? Why is this a trap?
Don't overthink this, Jack. Don't
Also,
overthink
can I take
this.
the Bills? Are you allowing me to this week?
Because you asked, Jack, and you've not been feeling
Please.
well, I'll give you the joy of the Bills being one of your picks.
I'm still not allowed to take the Bills. I don't want.
Don't touch the Bills. You're too chicken-ass to pick your
away.
own team. You don't
Staying
take
away
mine.
from the Bills. How
Yeah,
you
Jack,
feeling?
don't overthink it. Although
No,
we should be asking you.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the one that I was looking at. And I'm like, I can't wrap my head around this. I feel like.
Didn't we feel the same way in Seattle 2 weeks ago, and they just
And
absolutely
they destroyed them?
Yeah. Like sometimes there's just a line. You're like, this ain't right. Like, what are we doing here? Now, usually we're the ones that are wrong, and Vegas is right, but there are a few where you're like, this just doesn't pass the sniff test.
Yeah, there's a lot of road favorites too, which is interesting.
Yeah. There are a lot,
and I took a few.
Yeah, we
all did.
We're all pretty heavy on road favorites. Jack's team is actually
they're dogs.
An interesting dog with 2.5 points against
Commanders,
the Washingtons. And Jane Daniels has been absolute superstar. They run the ball well. They're starting to make plays on the defensive side of the ball. I'm excited for this weekend. And your Bills. How do we feel about Indy? I mean, just lock it in. Another W.
I don't feel anything about Indy. Joe Flacco. That's supposed to intimidate me.
I'm trying. It's not working.
Yeah, no, I saw Joe throw an interception last weekend, and sorry, Joe.
Sorry, Joe.
Loved you in Baltimore. Actually, I didn't, but
you remember him.
Yeah, no.
There's transactions since we last spoke. Anthony Mantha placed on IR. Should probably mention that.
Did you reach out, get the gist, like the breakdown of what happened?
Lower body. It's a lower body.
Weird.
And we saw kind of the skate blade go into the boards. Never really a great sign.
Ankle.
No. We'll see. It's a minimum of, I believe, 7 to 10 days retroactively. And they did have to call someone up. And I was kind of thinking, okay, who'd be fun to call up? Well, you got Peltier, the young guy who's working hard. You got Hanzik, who you just sent down. Maybe you want to let him cook a little longer. Hey, Stromgren was a really nice story in development camp. Maybe this is his chance to get a debut. Oh, Walker Dewar, great start, scoring lots of goals. Rory Caron's probably not ready yet. Dryden Hunt is back, baby. Because guess who trusts Dryden Hunt? The head coach. So it'll be potentially the Kirkland, Rooney, Hunt type players rounding out the roster. I know it's always, you want to get your paws on these young prospects, but not this time. Hunt will come back up, and I actually thought he was the best version of Dryden Hunt we've seen last year when he came up. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but if you need someone to play fourth line minutes, he's been absolutely fine. So we'll see if he gets in on tomorrow morning against Buffalo, or with those back-to-back games, Monday, Tuesday with travel in the middle, if he makes his season debut for the Flames. Time to get to our insider hotline. We do that for Crystal Waters Plumbing Company. Crystal Waters, your crystal clear choice for all residential plumbing, heating, and cooling services. With over 23 years experience and over 30,000 projects completed, they're going to deliver premium quality equipment and services, safety, comfort, product longevity. That's what they're focused on. They want to be the guardians of your home's mechanical heart. We welcome in on the Insider Hotline from TSN and the Rain Dregs podcast. It is Darren Dreger. Happy Friday, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Got an interesting weekend ahead. As you guys know, it's Hall of Fame weekend, and I don't historically partake over the years and the ceremonies that go along with it. But in the last number of years, we do regionally the Hall of Fame game. So tonight that's Detroit and Toronto. And, it's always fun being around the Hall of Famers. And tonight is going to be extraordinary because anytime you give Jeremy Roenick a live microphone, just buckle up and let it go, man, because it's going to be entertainment. So that's what I got going on tonight and heading into the weekend.
Okay, so tell us about the class and what are you excited for beyond JR? Careful now with that microphone. There are people here recording.
Yeah. A little bit of everything. I think of Shea Weber. Rhett, you played against this man. He just typifies what it was to be a good, clean, mostly clean physical presence out there who had the bone-crushing slap shot. Just ultimate leader is probably used too much. It sounds cliche, but it also feels appropriate when I think of Shea Weber. So I look forward to seeing him go in. Pavel Datsyuk, man, I can't imagine again what it was like to play against him.
Not fun.
I can imagine the deception. And I always love the comparisons of players who are now in the national. Oh, it reminds me, like the most recent one, and several hockey people have made this, not media people, of Mitch Marner to Pavel Datsyuk. And I'm like, okay, I get it. He's shifty, and he's quick, and he's got great intelligence and creativity and all that. There's only one Pavel Datsyuk. There's just one. Then beyond that, we talked a little bit about JR. For me, it's long overdue. I think he's aptly deserving of attention in the Hall of Fame. You look at the ladies going in, Natalie Darwitz, Chrissy Wendell-Poole. I mean, Chrissy Wendell-Poole, as Ray Ferraro talked about this week, just gave up a career because she wanted to start a family. This is a woman with a decorated playing resume, so that's nice. And then you've got the two builders. So you've got Colin Campbell, who's been involved at every level of hockey in the National Hockey League forever. And then you've got David Poile, who, again, he's one of the true gentlemen of the sport. So because of TV, so you can blame us, because of TV, there's a short window. It's a 5-minute maximum that each of the inductees have to just thank everybody and acknowledge some of the great points in their career. I mean, have you guys ever had a conversation with Coley Campbell? There's zero chance he's getting that in 5 minutes. And likewise, David Poile, who it might take him 5 minutes to just acknowledge the principal people in his life around hockey. So anyway, it's a real good class, and I am looking forward to it.
Rhett, give us a Datsyuk anecdote. You kind of you made the joke. Not fun. He was, the deception was through the roof, and really it felt like keep away, didn't it?
It did feel like keep away. And you got to remember, at the start of his career, he was very much criticized for being soft and not caring and not engaging. And then all of a sudden it's like, what are you talking about? This guy is one of the best of the best of the best. I always loved his shootout goals where he just did the flip over the goalie into the net. So, I mean, every time I played against him, I made sure I changed real fast and got off the ice.
How about this one, fellas? So I remember years ago, so Braden Shen was going into his first year, his rookie year in the National Hockey League. So that's how long ago this was. For some reason, I got invited to Las Vegas as part of a tourism boondoggle. And I went there with Brent Wallace, who at the time was with TSN. And so it was, I got to think who we got invited to a Cirque du Soleil show and then backstage. So it was Pavel Datsyuk, Braden Shen, and somebody else. I can't recall. I couldn't believe how good Datsyuk's English was at the time, because every media availability, every scrum that I'd ever been in around Pavel Datsyuk, he could barely speak English. Right? But then all of a sudden, you get him away from the prying eyes of media, and he's behind the scenes, and he's having a full conversation in English with one of the athletes at Cirque du Soleil. I'm like, all right, I'm on to you, Pavel. I've got it. But he still plays that card.
That was the classic Ichiro Suzuki thing. He'd always be like, no English. And then you'd see him when the media wasn't around, and he's just like, I may as well be like reading English literature. Like the guy was absolutely fluent, no sweat. Just didn't want to do the media, which probably a good PR move.
Yeah.
Hey, look who's in the comments here. We got a question. Now, I know you're covering the Hall of Fame game. What about the Hall of Fame old timers game? Here's Kami weighing in. Dregs, you got a horse here? What do you got?
I don't even know who's playing. Is Mike playing?
I was just as if he's asking.
Okay.
I'm curious who's coaching, because there's a certain candidate that would make that very entertaining.
Oh boy! Hey, by the way, let's get Kami going here. You see, there was a Mike Babcock sighting recently.
No,
it was at the Laval Rocket game, the American League game. Now, in fairness, doesn't sound like he's working for anybody or doing anything. I think he was there as part of McGill alumni, and they had an event, so he just went over and watched the game. But no, Mike Babcock will not be anywhere near that old timers game.
Tommy's offended. You've lost your insider status. You don't know the old timers games rosters. You haven't memorized them.
I have no idea. I have no idea who's playing.
Yeah.
No.
I really need Tommy to bring him in as an insider, but it can't be anything like current NHL. It's going to be like who's on the next U.S. Ryder Cup team or like top 10 golf courses in Scottsdale. This guy's got to figure it out.
I'll tell you what, he better hope that Wendell isn't playing, Wendell Clark. I saw Wendell late in the summer at the Maple Leafs charity golf tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, he had dropped maybe 20 lbs, maybe a little bit more, chiseled. I mean, he literally looks like that wrister could get pulled out of the mothballs and find its way home in the National Hockey League. So let's see. If Wendell's playing, how about a little showdown, center ice, old school, Mike Commodore and Wendell Clark. See how that turns out.
Yeah, Mike has the reach, but I don't know. I like Wendell there for some reason. You mentioned David Poile. He was a architect of the franchise here in Calgary we followed back to the early days in Atlanta, but more famous for his incredibly long and successful tenure with the Nashville Predators. He stepped aside. Barry Trotz is now the architect. What is Barry Trotz's demeanor and what are the texts like he's getting these days? Another loss last night for the Preds.
Yeah, everybody's throwing him a life preserver, right? Every NHL general manager, hey, we have the perfect fit. We can help you out. It's going to cost one of your 3 first-round draft picks and one of your top prospects, but we've got the answer for you. I talked to Barry before Wednesday's game against Washington, and that was after he had done Nashville radio, where he dropped the R word, the rebuild word. Right. And, you know, in fairness to Barry, it was misinterpreted. That's not what he meant. Like when you think traditional rebuild, you're thinking, okay, you're tearing it down, you're taking it to the wood, and you're drafting, developing in years and years and years of pain and suffering. It's not what he meant. He meant maybe he has to investigate whether they need help kind of in the middle part of their lineup. So they bring in Brady Shea. He replaces McDonough. They bring in Stamkos and they bring in John Marchessault. And his hope was that those 3 guys, given their experience, would be able to hold down the fort. You know, they could lean on him, they being Andrew Burnett and the rest of the team, while some of the younger guys earn the experience. And maybe by the time you get to the playoffs, you know, some of these younger guys are ready to take it up a notch. Well, the problem is they're probably not getting to the playoffs. Well, they're not the way they're playing right now. So when he said rebuild, what he meant was, you know, I might have to dangle one of those first-round picks. It's got 2 seconds. They have a glut of good young prospects coming and good young NHL players. Maybe I've got to package something and make another bigger trade or a bigger move and get in some help. So we'll see how that plays out. It's still relatively early. He probably isn't going to be able to do that until closer to the midway point of the regular season, but that's what he meant when he used the rebuild word.
So what are they shopping for? Second line center? Is it the middle?
But yeah, that's in a perfect world, that's what they would add. You know, something with a little bit of creative punch there. But, you know, like who's given up a 2 center with any level of hockey smarts or creativity? Nobody, not at this point. And that's a frustration. Like there's no way that Barry Trotz and Andrew Burnett expected that they would be in the mud the way that they are right now. They just didn't. And Rhett, you made the point a couple of weeks ago. You thought that, you know, he pulled the Louisville off his shoulder way too early. You know, swung for the fence with Stamkos and Marchessault, and the group isn't ready. And you're 100% right. And now the general manager can see that. Unfortunately, he's the guy who did it, and everybody's calling for Andrew Burnett. Well, that's grossly unfair.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
No. I mean, Andrew Burnett was a hell of a coach we're talking to him in the coach of the year category, right? You know, and you look at the year Ryan O'Reilly had last year. Terrific. This year, I mean, he called himself out the other night and said he doesn't think he's played a worse game in terms of his inability to generate anything. Well, there's a guy that's been there, done that. He's seen it all at the NHL level. So I believe, based on the conversation I had with Barry, that he's going to try and bring in some help before he does any dismantling, coaching or otherwise.
Okay, Rhett, I want you to we saw the Bruins last night. Flames were in Boston. Another wildly entertaining game on the road for the Flames. They erased a deficit in Montreal, win in overtime with Coronado starring. Last night, they erased a 2-goal deficit with Kadri and Sharangovich playing big roles. Dustin Wolf played in both of them. He's looking all the part of a starter.
Good. Yeah.
I think this Flames team, we would all be on the same page. They've surprised us. They've impressed us. tip of the cap to the veterans, the coach, the young players. What are we seeing on the other side of the ice? Because Boston, all the hallmarks that we've seen over the last half decade or decade haven't been there. They don't have anything that they seem to be great at. They're not great on special teams. They don't score a lot. They haven't been getting great goaltending. Yeah. They don't look like they're terribly well structured. Rhett, maybe you start with what you maybe know or what you're asking questions about with Boston, and then Dregs will get to you.
Yeah.
Well, I just you've got a bunch of guys, again, the team that brought in guys that paid a lot of money, and you expect Boston, because of the history and the way they've played over the last decade or so, that they're going to be upper echelon.
Yeah.
And have they accepted that maybe they aren't anymore? I mean, there's all that talk about the coaching too. And I have no idea, because how do you go from one of the best records ever, or the best record ever 2 years ago, to not liking the coach and making these changes? I guess one of the questions I would have is, did they sour things in the offseason with the treatment of some of the players, or vice versa? Where some of the guys like Marchand going, listen, I've played here for cheap because I want to play on a good team, and now you're going to take these guys to the cleaners? Did it change the dynamics in the room? That's what I can't.
It could have. I mean, there's no doubt that Jeremy Swayman negotiation, or lack thereof, was a distraction, and it negatively influenced the group coming out of training camp and coming out of the preseason. I just don't think the Bruins are good enough. You know, they've got a handful of good players. You know, I mean, David Pastrnak is elite. We know that. He's proven that. You know, Brad Marchand scores the overtime winner last night. Good second effort there, but he's coming off 3 surgeries, and he's an older player. Like, he's clearly in the back nine of his career. But we just talked about Nashville wanting a potentially a second line center. Look up the middle of the ice in Boston. And so you see Pavel Zacha, you see Lindholm, who actually I thought was pretty good last night, right? Like, you know, Lindholm isn't that edge of the seat type of centerman, right? He's not. He's a good two-way center. You've got Charlie Coyle. So those are your 3 guys up the middle. Well, the one thing that they seem to lack is exactly what we talked about: creativity. There's nobody there with that sort of buzz or excitement. You know, they've got Justin Brazeau playing top 6 right wing. Yeah. I mean, this guy, and I like him. I mean, he's an enormous guy. I can appreciate how you look at him and you see a project. Not that long ago, he couldn't play for the Toronto Marlies. Now he's in your top 6 in the National Hockey League with the Boston Bruins beside Brad Marchand and Lindholm. So I feel the frustration of Jim Montgomery. People are criticizing Jim because of how often he turns a blender on. I mean, when they were winning games that they shouldn't have won last year early on, he did the same thing. You know, a line would score, and the next time the 2 forwards are out, they'd have a different winger on the other side. That's just the MO of Jim Montgomery. So it might just come down to the Boston Bruins time without Bergeron, without Krejci, without some of the other pieces just catching up to them. And they've got some good young talent. I'm drawn to Matthew Potter watching that kid play. I think he's going to be a really good NHL player, but they need that cushion. They need help to get them through.
Last night, bit of a hit that is going to get a second viewing from the Department of Player Safety, as we saw Tanner Jeannot, a guy that plays his game on the edge. Probably wish he could take this one back. There's Brock Besser, who is one of the great goal scorers on the Canucks. Want you both to react to it. Rhett, we showed you it once before the show, and now you see it another couple times. What's your first reaction before we get to Dregs?
Well, I guess my first reaction is you don't need to.
Yeah.
It feels like one of those ones where it's pretty clear that the league has told everybody, don't do it. Yeah. We don't want to see it. The guys don't need to be. We get hypocritical about it because we want hard-nosed hockey and physical hockey, but to me, that one's a bit of a cheap shot.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And he had opportunity because of distance traveled. If you feel like you've got to complete that hit, he could have changed it, right? He could have gone shoulder on shoulder, and he doesn't. Yeah, anything. Full body, however they want to describe it inside the Department of Player Safety, the opportunity for Jeannot to complete that hit in a better fashion was there. So now you start looking at some of the little details that go into it. Does he drive the shoulder up? You know, it appears in the 5 times I've looked at it that there's the point of contact is head. That doesn't always matter. But in this case, it probably will. To me, that's a line crossed. I'd be surprised if he isn't suspended. However, then you flip it again. And I wouldn't say that Besser was admiring a pass or making the play, but when you're drifting through the neutral zone like that, you're allowed to be hit there, right? But it does come from the blind side, and there were other paths, and the contact could have been different. So I think it's probably suspendable.
Yeah, this is one of the many I would file into totally normal hit in the mid-90s, and one that the league and the players aren't okay with now. A, the players not expecting it, and B, what are you accomplishing here? It's just unnecessary, right? You said it. Like, what's the point here?
Right. Well, and Drake's made a good point too. If you can finish that, check.
Do better. Yeah,
you
finish it low.
Why are you going to where are you going with that contact? Like,
so if I say 2 games, you go over under or just right?
2-3 maybe.
Okay, Rhett,
I always hate guessing at the numbers.
I know,
because
and
it's so subjective.
We always joke about it. Spin the wheel of justice, like tick, 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 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's 2. There you go. But yeah, I mean, when you slow things down and there's all these different comps, I can find comparables that didn't get suspended. You can go find some more than 2, but it just feels like that safe spot for the Department of Player Safety is a couple games. Yeah, King's been good. Anyone else that's caught your eye surprisingly out of the gates? Washington has been stunning. I mean, not just, hey, the results, smoke and mirrors, but like their underlying metrics are phenomenal.
Give me your take. Give me your take on Buffalo too. So we play them tomorrow, and I do not know what to make. I said I don't think they're going to playoff team. I felt, and they've kind of climbed out of a bit of a hole. But where are they at in your opinion?
Well, I mean, they're closer to where I thought they'd be. And I mean, they're not going to roll over teams like they have in the last couple. I don't think that that's reality, but they were better or are better than what they played up to, in the previous games of the regular season, to be fair. And because of that, it conjured up all sorts of rumor and speculation, around that group and what might come. There's a reason why Kevin Adams wanted to bring Lindy Ruff back. And there's familiarity there, obviously, with the Buffalo Sabres. But I think that he also felt like they needed somebody who's going to stabilize. And just as importantly, make sure that young defense is taught the right way, how to defend and do it on a consistent basis. Because up until now, they weren't seeing that from some of their young D. The goaltending in Buffalo has been a question mark for the last few years. Maybe it's less so now. But in fairness to that group, on paper, I thought that they'd be better than they were. So maybe the last couple of games is an indication that they're finding the right way and they're learning how to get the job done here.
Yeah, we like they're young. We like a lot of the talent.
Yeah.
And you hope they don't panic. I feel like they've done this too many times to do it again, but this is not the time to go overreact and trade a young star who's going to be better elsewhere. We've seen that a bit with Buffalo. And Washington, finally. Yeah, Washington, and then we'll get you out of here.
Washington is a surprise for a number of different reasons, right? But, we had Spencer Carberry on the podcast recently, and he talked about the benefits of him having coached some of their younger guys like Protas, McMichael's another one, right? Like this kid has just blossomed this year, and it's almost the perfect recipe for what they needed, based on what they've got in the elder statesmen. Of course, you think of Ovechkin. Tom Wilson is still at times dominant player, but maybe not the offensive threat that he used to be. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, you're good.
So all that combined with good goaltending, I mean, I still think they're going to come back to the pack a little bit, but man, they've been good to this point. Surprising for me, for sure. I still think that they're going to have to scrape and claw like they did last year as the playoffs draw closer in the second half. But, the other thing that you're hearing from inside that dressing room is how tight that group is. And you kind of see it in the pregame. You see they're mucking around and they're having fun, and it's Ovechkin with the old guys and all of that kind of stuff. But maybe that does matter. When you've got that connectivity in the room and off the ice, and guys want to come to the rink because it's fun and you're winning games, which makes it that much more fun. I mean, maybe they do. And guys I think we're also learning Spencer Carberry is a hell of a coach.
Yeah,
he really is. So they might have something going there.
No question. Dregs, enjoy Hall of Fame weekend. You're our Hall of Famer. We love you. Thanks for coming on weekly. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Get a glass of water and get going on those old timer rosters.
Always something going on. All right, boys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. There's Darren Dreger on the Crystal Waters Insider Hotline. Whether you're a home builder looking for high volume professional mechanical subcontractors, a homeowner seeking installations, replacements, repairs, or maintenance, or a property manager, real estate owner, their experts offer comprehensive mechanical solutions. Let's make sure your home is ready and safe for winter. Let Crystal Waters inspect your plumbing and heating equipment to ensure your home is ready for the cold months ahead. Also, Crystal Waters, you're a burner, you're a Barney, you're a fan of the Barn Burner Show, let them know. They'll give you discounts on water heaters, air conditioning, furnaces, up to $1,000 in value. Crystal Waters Plumbing and Heating is your crystal clear choice for home comfort. Give them a call, 403-219-4100, or check them out online at crystalclearcalgary.com. Yeah, lots there from Dregs. You're not out for Hall of Fame weekend. What the hell?
Totally forgot it was Hall of Fame weekend. I mean, not that it's circled on my calendar. It's something I'm normally attending. I did get invited last year when Vernie went in, so that was.
Were you there for Jerome's as well, or no?
Nope.
But it's funny because like there's a lot of guys that get in, but it's way later in life, and they've probably just forgotten about it. And there's other guys that are slam dunks, and you know they're getting in first ballot, like Jerome. But that's a big deal out there. Like if you're in that Ontario area, that's a huge event that out here kind of sneaks up on you, not out there.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun that weekend. I remember a bunch of the guys, the alumni with Flames guys, with Vernie going and stuff, and lots of great stories. Everyone seems to enjoy it. I've never been to it, so I can't really comment on it.
Dregs is
how
right.
The hell? I don't know how the hell Commodores get invited, but whatever.
Yeah, the old timer game's not all Hall of Famers, that's for sure. Hall of Fame hair, maybe. Let's get to our football picks every week. A ton of fun. We're trying to reel in Jack. Boom's trying to stay above water. We do it for Bet365, the world's largest sports betting platform. Open an account today with Bet365, and you can bet on a huge range of markets. Download the app today. We got a bonus code. Look at it. Nation. There's your bonus code. Nation. Use that when you sign up. So whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Jack, you are our clubhouse leader. Let's take a look at the records here. It is a preposterously excellent 20-7 on the season. One of Jack's key to success, staying away from his beloved Steelers. He's off to a hot start. He has the floor. Jack, who do you like this week?
I really wanted to take my Steelers this week, but I can't do it.
Can't mess with the formula.
Jinx them. I can't jinx my record.
Yes.
So we'll start off here with the Bills heading to the Colts, like we talked about earlier. I don't get the spread. I feel like the Bills could play a bad game and they'd still win by 4.
Don't mind
Very
that,
confident there. We got San Fran getting McCaffrey back.
Oh, yeah.
Debo's healthy. They're kind of getting their squad back together here. It feels like, all right.
Coming off a bye.
Yeah. Time to make that playoff push and get back up there with the Super Bowl contenders. The Bucs, they fight. They play hard. I love Baker this year. He's doing all the things right, but they're just so shorthanded. I think the Niners can easily cover 6.5 on the road. And then Detroit heading to Houston. Houston didn't look good last week.
No Nico.
No Diggs. Their offense is stale without those playmakers. Detroit's the best team in the NFL. They handle their business in Houston, -3.5. So I got 3 road favorites.
That'll be a theme. Rhett, let's get to your picks. Road favorites. A lot of them on the slate this weekend. Retro, we know you're going to go Bills. What else do you have on your ticket?
Well, I know where my bread is buttered. So I'm going to copy Jack with the Niners pick. They're getting those guys back. I think it's time for the Niners to get rolling.
Your boy McCaffrey. Here we go.
Yes, finally, I've got the Niners have a team, and my Rhetts fantasy is finally finding a way.
Just in time.
Have a chance.
Get out of the moss pit. Lovely.
And I like the Vikings. I don't think the Jaguars are worth a hot bag of poo. I think the Vikings could get some stuff done. So I'm going to go Vikings on the road.
And interestingly, with the Jags, Trevor Lawrence very unlikely to play this week. Might be done for the year. We're talking about with the old New England quarterback,
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones at the helm here. It's been an ugly year for the Jaguars. It might get worse. And Vikings are a good football team. My picks, I got an overlap with you there, Rhett. I also have the Vikings, another road favorite. I like the Falcons. Falcons have been good to me, and I don't think they're getting the respect they deserve. What's New Orleans done since week 2?
Zip.
I'll wait. They're awful.
Zip.
And they've lost their top 2 receivers. They're trash. Atlanta's been very good. They're finally using all those weapons in the offense. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, even Darnell Mooney's putting up some legitimate numbers. I don't think this is close. That line looks wrong. Falcons will soar in New Orleans. I also like Minnesota for the reasons you did, Rhett. That line was 4 before they lost Trevor Lawrence. I think that's still nowhere near enough. Vikings take care of business here. And the Eagles at the Cowboys, it's a lot of points, but the Cowboys are reeling. Is it Cooper Rush and maybe no CeeDee Lamb? I like the Eagles by 7 probably anyway. If they had Dak Prescott there, Eagles run that ball, go get a big win. I got to cover the full touchdown there. 3 more road favorites. And the Boomer picks. Here we go.
Do you have his explanation?
He says it's very chalky. There's a lot of road favorites, but he also says that's what's worked well this year. He's actually taking a home team, the Chargers against the Titans. That's a big number, but the Titans have been absolute trash. The Chargers are starting to look for real, surprising even me. Giants on the road against the Panthers. Interesting spot here.
That's in Germany as well, I think.
Thank you. That makes more sense. And it does sound like Jonathan Brooks will make his NFL debut, the running back who torched his ACL in college last year. And he's also on the Vikings in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. So I don't know if we call the Giants a road team there. It's more of a neutral site, but the theme of the week, road favorites. Let's hope we're right, fellas.
I can't make up ground on Jack if I copy 2 of his picks.
Well, you got to hit the other. That's the thing.
You want to make a switch, Rhett?
No.
Don't do that. It just complicates things. Please don't. Please, God, no. Other games, I think you had the Detroit game in there.
Yeah, the Sunday Night Football game. Yeah.
No one took the Steelers.
No.
Okay, because that's a fun one. Last night was an absolute slugfest. I don't think that Pittsburgh Washington's going to be the.
I didn't see a second of that game last night. Haven't seen a highlight. Like what the?
Can you treat yourself and just go to watch a 5-minute highlight pack from that game? It's absolute insanity. Insanity. Someone had it last night. Jamar Chase more fantasy points than Jalen Waddle has all year. One night.
Jamar Chase had more fantasy points in one night than Waddle all year. How many?
I think it was close to 50 in half-point PPR.
Yeah, it was insane, and it was a good start. And then, they found him again, and then touchdown number 2, touchdown number 3. What did he finish with? 260 some yards.
260. What was that thing Tyson sent in? You sent it. That it was.
Of course, I'm playing Burrow.
Yeah, that's not ideal. I was playing Lamar. The Boomcats got.
What was it, Ryan? He had
Jamar Chase. Read us the stat line, and I'll have the stat for you. So Jamar Chase goes nuclear last night with Burrow. They're facing the worst pass defense in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens. Jamar has a day, except you must think that was like the greatest day of all time for Jamar Chase. Didn't set a career high in catches, touchdowns, or yardage.
11 catches, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And nothing was career high. That's 100% fact.
It's got to be. It was on the internet.
That's crazy.
Who could suggest the internet was lying? So those are our picks. Again, brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Reminder that promo code NATION when you sign up. Whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. We had a night last night, right? We had a night. The group chat was buzzing. Fellas excited. Once a year, you get a slate like that.
I wasn't part of the group chat because I didn't see any.
Well, you wouldn't trust my picks. You'd just go against me. You'd go opposite George. You would have lost a lot last night. That's we're keeping out of the chat. Don't want that. Don't want that at all.
I had Burrow putting up 350.
That's a big number. Yeah. I just making odd numbers look normal. It was incredible last night. What do you got this weekend? Are you kid hockeying? Are you
kids and hockey and soccer and lacrosse and soccer and hockey and lacrosse and kids?
How's the young man's noggin? Is he getting a little better?
He's coming around.
Okay.
Yeah. Acting like a human.
No?
Well, he's acting like a teenager. So maybe.
Yeah. He's acting dumb.
He's
back.
Must be still effed up.
No Pinder report today. Instead, we are airlifting in a guest. It is always brought to you by Village Honda. They're your dealership for life, located in the Northwest Auto Mall and online at villagehonda.com. New stock inventory, a new 28-month flex lease. If you want pre-owned, access to over 500 in the dealer group. It's all there at villagehonda.com. Let's welcome in the newest member of the Nation Network family.
Oh, my.
Jeff Marek.
What's up, gentlemen? Hello,
Resurrected.
boys. So, I know he's off the mat. He's off the mat.
Yes.
The fight continues. Can I be so bold as to sort of navigate here for maybe 20 seconds and ask Rhett a favor?
Oh.
Okay. One of my favorite people that I've met in hockey, I met 2 years ago in Florida before the All-Star game. Rhett, can you do me a huge favor? I hope I'm not overstepping here. Can you smile?
Oh.
Okay. Did Martin Robbins ever work on those teeth?
Yes,
you remember
I'm
Martin
sure
Robbins?
he did. Yes,
he
yes.
had, because your name came up. So we shot some stuff. Elliot and I, when I was doing 32, we shot some. I spent a whole day with him, and it was one of my cherished hockey memories because it was like you walk into his dentist office, and it's the Florida Panthers Hall of Fame. And he's telling me the Robert Schfela stories. And I was a huge Schfela fan. And the game where he lost like all of his upper teeth and he came back like half a period, like gutsy stories like that. And your name came up as well. I was just curious. When I say Martin Robbins, Rhett, what comes to your mind? I apologize for hijacking the show.
I actually, he's very sharp dressed.
Yes, he is.
And I was from Saskatchewan, and I was not very sharp dressed. And Dr. Rob, he would buy me ties, say like, just next time you wear this suit, wear this. This might.
He's a very, very dapper gentleman. You want to hear a quick great tie story? This is a Harry Neal tie story. When I was working Hockey Night in Canada in 2007. I'm doing a Montreal San Jose game. And so I finished the Hockey Night in Canada radio show on Sirius around 4 o'clock. And I get on the plane and I get to Montreal around 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And I walk into the Sheraton and there's Harry at the bar and he waves me over. So let me throw my bag in the room and I'll come down and have a beer with you. And we start talking. We end up talking about clothes. And Harry says to me, ask me how many ties I have. I said, okay, Harry, how many ties do you have? And he says, about 700 ties. 700 ties, Harry. And he says, yeah, about 700 ties. He goes, ask me how many I paid for. I said, how many did you pay for? He said, none. He said, you should go tie shopping with me. I said, Harry, at those prices, I'd love to go tie shopping with you. He said, put your beer down. So I put my beer down and said, we're going tie shopping. We'll walk up to the front desk and Harry goes to the person there, says, excuse me, I was staying at this hotel about a month ago, left a couple of ties up in the room. I'm not sure if you have a lost and found basket. And sure enough, they'll always bring out a basket. And there's always going to be ties. And he grabs two, throws them over his shoulder. Yep, those are the two. Thank you very much for your help. Does it at every hotel. It is the best. That's a tip for all of your listeners and viewers. You don't have, as long as you don't care what the tie is, you never have to buy them. Just next time you're at a hotel, they'll bring out the basket. And that's where you go tie shopping.
Is that a kleptomaniac? Someone that's always stealing? What's the right terminology?
Not stealing. That's usually your noggin.
Borrowing.
Yeah.
You bring it back.
It's creative stealing. It's thoughtful stealing. You're unburdening the hotel of carrying around these ties. Anyhow, I'll turn the recreation over.
Well, hey, thank you. That's great. This is what I love about what you do and the way you talk about the sport. It's always incredible stories that tie into the legends of the game. Tell us about the new project. What is it going to be like, and how did you arrive here? Because there's lots of different things you've done in the past. It's not just your thoughts where a lot of people did see you the most.
You know, we all have wish lists, right? Like I'm sure you guys have wish lists for things that you want to accomplish in your professional career. And when it comes to my career, like I have like a whole lot of things that I've always wanted to do and was never able to do. Like, you know, you work for a company, it's like they hire you to do one or two very specific things. And there's a whole laundry list of, well, I want to do this and this and this. And well, we don't have the resources and the time and et cetera to get it all done. When I first started talking to Nation Network, the first question, when I was speaking with Jay Dalton was kind of like, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, you know what, I'm swinging for the fences then. Like, I'm not going to go conservative. I'm trying to hit a tape measure home run. I'm like, I want to do this and this and this and this. I want to do a daily show and podcast and video. And I want to do a hockey history thing. I don't think that's been announced yet, but I'm going to do a hockey history thing on social media. And there you go. And something with junior hockey and prospects and PWHL. And I just like kept adding up. And Jay was just bobbleheading it. Like, okay, we can find a way, if you're interested, to make all of this work. your listeners and viewers may not understand, like that's a really refreshing answer.
Yeah.
Like normally in this industry, the default is no. Nobody gets fired for saying no. People get fired for saying yes and greenlighting something stupid. But like, what I like about Nation Network is there's this entrepreneurial spirit of let's try something. You know what? We're not going to hit 1,000. We're not going to. We're not always going to get on base, but we're going to try. And when you do that, you're going to, not every time, but you're going to succeed. And that to me was most attractive of all the places that I talked to since my unemployment.
Yeah, and you know what? Like our story is not the same, but it's not dissimilar. We worked for the same incredibly small mom and pop shop telecom company, and I was looking around after 10 years of being the morning show in Calgary.
Yeah.
Boomer, who's up at a ringette tournament in Edmonton today.
Yeah.
Rhett, myself, we had cultivated I think a really great audience, and for whatever reason, our show resonated. But you just looked around.
Your show is huge.
You kept thinking about like
people love you. People love you. Like
okay,
they adore you. It's true.
But like you're looking around, you're like, what more can we do? What are we? Where are the 2 foot putts that we're missing? Like, what about more? And why do I believe that something has to happen on AM dial? We can't go bigger than that. Like you're literally seeing cars coming off factory line assembly lines without AM now. Like we can't be using this 1800s technology moving. It's a digital world now, so it's got to be like you're unchained a bit here in the sense that there is no limits in the sense.
So the thing that I've been telling people about the Nation Network, and you guys have much more experience at it than I do. I've been here all of a cozy 2 days, but in my discussions and having a look, peek under the hood and seeing how this whole thing works. One of the things that I really like about it is it's big enough a company that it's well funded so you can do things. So your creativity has some financial heft behind it, so you can actually execute. But it's small enough that, and this is what I think what you were getting at, you can pivot quickly.
Yeah.
When tastes change or something changes, I mean, you know how large companies are, we all know who they are and how they operate, and they're certainly well funded, and it's spectacular to watch when it all sinks. But they're just less nimble, right? You get on trolley tracks and it's hard to pivot. It's hard to change. I mean, what you guys have the ability to do is, hey man, Flames fans tastes have changed, or there's a new perspective, and you can pivot fast. You can broadcast to reflect that reality. That's not necessarily true elsewhere.
Okay, so I know you're a huge hockey trivia guy. I have 2 favorite hockey trivia questions, and I know you're gonna crush them.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But they're like water cooler ones that everyone's always amazed at the answer. And there's also some tie-ins that work regionally. That's a hint. Can you tell me the only Swede that's ever scored 50 goals in the NHL? Because that's crazy. Think about all the great Swedish players.
Only Swede that scored 50. Was it Kjell Dahlin?
No. It was a Calgary Flame, which is your regional tie-in.
Was it Kent Nilsson?
It was not the Magic Man.
My favorite. Who was it? Who was the only Swede? Oh, Håkan Loob.
Is that not amazing? You think of all the stars, the Sedins, Sundins, Peter Forsberg. But no one.
But okay, but here's the thing. I'm going to go like hockey stereotype 101 on you here.
Yeah.
Maybe that shouldn't surprise us, because what are Swedes known for when it comes to forwards specifically? Playmaking. I just mentioned Kent Nilsson, who, I mean, hockey player after hockey player, we'll talk about him being the most skilled player they've ever shared the ice with. Wayne Gretzky is one of those people who said that. Like, it's almost like, I mean, how many times have you watched Swedish hockey players and said, stop trying to pass it in the net?
Yes.
Like they're wonderful at distributing, right? It's like the old joke about the Sedins in Vancouver. Henrik to Daniel to some guy who's got an empty net.
Right.
Like that's the joke, right? But it's true. Like it is a passers hockey nation. Håkan Loob. I should have got that. Bad on me. -1. -1.
No, it's all right. And you know what? If he played for the Leafs, everyone would know the answer. It is kind of one of those.
It is probably true.
You're right. Like, and he's just a tiny little window in the 80s there.
Although Kent Nilsson, doesn't he still hold the record for most points in a season by the Flames?
I probably would. There were some gaudy numbers.
He's like 130 points. Like there's some players. There's 2 that come to mind that history has not only forgotten but hasn't been kind to and should be kinder to. Yeah. One is Kent Nilsson, and the other is the answer to this question.
Okay.
Wayne Gretzky was number 1, most points in the 80s. Who was number 2? Most points in the 80s. Number 1 was Gretzky. Number 2 is someone we never talk about.
Not one of his teammates.
No.
Jeez.
It's a great one.
Not an Islander.
Nope. His name rhymes with Peter Stastny.
Okay. Wow. How about that?
No one ever talks about Peter
You're right.
Stastny.
You're right.
He's one of the greatest players ever.
We don't have enough video from those days. And I feel like our producer Jack, I think, just turned 26. Like, how in the world could you ever try to explain or illustrate how Peter Stastny played? And I'm trying to explain to him what Canada Cups are because we got into it on the Four Nations stuff a couple days ago.
Oh yeah. Which was your biggie? Was your biggie 87? No. So I remember 76. 76 was a huge one for me.
I'm 43, so it would have been when they finally went to the Olympics in 98. I remember staying up till 2-3 a.m. in high school just for puck drop, only to see Mark Crawford put Ray Bourque in a shootout before the greatest player of all time. That's kind of a sticks in my
Gretzky was never good at breakaways.
I don't care. It's Gretzky, baby.
I'll tell you what. Doug McLean brought up a great point. I remember I challenged him on this one. I'm like, the real problem is Sakic was injured. He's in the stands. He's money on the shootout. Like, that's the guy you should have had. Never mind
Hasek was the problem.
Hasek was the problem. But Doug McLean, he said, listen, everybody knows if you're coaching, there's no way you're going to die on that sword. You have to have Gretzky in because if it doesn't work, you will forever be known as the guy that didn't put Gretzky in.
People will be talking about it 26 years later. Today's the proof.
It's 2024.
Yes, 26 years later. We're still talking.
2 days into my new career here at TNN, and we're talking about Mark Crawford, 98, and Hasek, and Nagano.
Okay, so you guys can team up on this one. This is my second favorite hockey trivia. There's only 6 guys that have scored 75 goals in a season. There's a lot of tap-ins, but it's a unique list. No Swedes, obviously, because only one scored 50. So start with the greats, and we'll move our way through.
Okay, so we're going to do Gretzky. We're going to do Lemieux. We're going to do Hull. We're going to do Eisman. We're going to do Bernie Nichols.
No.
Salon.
Phil Esposito for sure.
At 76. The other 2, I think, did it the same year. One was a rookie.
Alexander McGillney, Teemu Selanne.
How good's that list?
Is that right? That's a sweet list.
Isn't that cool?
Okay.
Those are prolific snipers, right?
Do you want like unpopular, going to be hated in Canada take from me?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll throw Bobby Orr into this mix as well.
Okay. With
Phil Esposito. How do you feel about hockey players who smashed records when the league was at its weakest? Like, I've always maintained that Nick Lidstrom's the greatest defenseman in the history of the NHL.
Okay.
Over Bobby Orr. That gets me hated, but here's my logic.
Yeah.
In 1967, the league doubled.
Yeah.
And the WHA came along in the early 70s. In 1970, we got 2 more teams. In 72, we got 2 more teams. There was expansion and a whole new league that watered down hockey everywhere. And we saw a lot of video of Bobby Orr skating around pylons and Red Wings jerseys. Right? How many times? Grapes would show it every Saturday night, right? Yeah. The league was at its weakest. I'm not taking anything away from their accomplishments. I'm just saying, how much do you measure like the Esposito 76 goals and all the things that Bobby Orr did? Mind you, they were the best at that time. Yeah. But I would argue that is when hockey was at its weakest point.
It's funny
because it had been so the quality had been dissolved.
At one point, there was 16 NHL teams, and there were supposed to be 16 WHA teams. I think 2 of them either folded or never got off the ground. But
that happened a lot.
Just got to 32 teams 3 years ago with Seattle, right? Like, in the late 70s, they were there. So you're right. Interesting. That's
I would find it interesting for I'm a little too young to remember the 70s.
You child.
The 70s era of hockey, and in a way, it's like, does it really matter? But the guys that played it, like a Gretzky that was around it, saw it, and knows. Right, like you can say, well, we got different skates, and guys are better trained, and this and that. If you could get the honesty out of them. Like, I think sitting around and having a beer with a guy, he'd probably give you the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
They're not going to say it publicly because they're going to give you the, wow, it's just different. And this guy was special. And we're there, but in reality, I'm with you. It was an easier game for guys that were talented back then.
Tougher though.
My kids are just getting old enough now. Just this last week, they were looking up records and stuff. And they were going back to the 1920s. And they're like, there was no teams. Of course they won these many Stanley.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I
you
have
look
a
at
25% chance of winning a cup.
Yeah. No, my kid's the same. Like I'm in Erie right now. I'm in Pennsylvania. I got to take my kid to game one of his tournament against the junior otters here in a couple of moments. And they're the same. Like my kids are the same now. They're starting to go through all the hockey history and find it outstanding. They're still default to, Connor Bedard's the best and the best ever. And that's absolutely true. We all sit on the shoulders of those hockey players that have come before. But I don't know about you guys, but I always have like a hard time contextualizing who's better than who historically.
Yeah.
But there's the closest way that I've got to it is, and I think it was Terry O'Reilly who came up with this one. His idea was, if you want to judge hockey players, you can just do this, sitting around, you got nothing to do. Take 2 goaltenders at the constant K, the exact same goaltenders. Take 5 Bobby Orrs, dress them at every position. Take 5 Wayne Gretzky's, dress them at every position. Drop the puck, who wins the game?
Yeah. I'd pay to watch that.
Do that with Mario. Do that with Gordy. I will always throw Jean Beliveau in there. I will throw Larry Robinson in there. Like, it's an interesting sort of thought experiment. Maybe it says more about like where we are at as hockey fans or quasi historians. But that's for me the closest way I can sort of try to gauge who is the best. And I think when I do that, 9 times out of 10, I'm coming back with Mario was the best player of all time.
He was unreal. Okay. No. We could go all day. We can't though, because
I got to get a kid to
hockey tournament in Erie. Congrats, welcome aboard, and let's chat again soon. This has been fun.
We're going to talk about teeth. Nice. Yeah, there we go.
Theft.
That's right. Look at that. He does have upper. It's like Nathan McKinnon. Until he won the Stanley Cup, we didn't know that he had upper teeth. All of a sudden, when they tell you, like, oh, he actually smiled. Well, I didn't know he had that.
That Erie rink, terrible, by the way.
I'm going for the first time right now.
Oh, get ready.
My kid is playing in the rink for the Otter, where the Otters play. Then I'm going to go see the Otters in the Sarnia's thing on Saturday. So I'm going to go see players that Calgary Flames fans might want to know more about later on. Malcolm Spence and Matthew Schaefer, ladies and gentlemen. So looking forward to that.
Schaefer, I hear great things. Hey,
he's fantastic.
Try that lube trivia 10 times. I bet you're 10 for 10. It'll be good.
First of all, it's a great hockey name. So I should know it. I'm embarrassed because it's just one of the great hockey names of all time. Also, the only time on the show I've said try that lube. We got to go, Jeff. Thank you. Have a great week.
Where are you going with this?
Enjoy Erie. There's Jeff Marek. The Sheet will debut in December here on the Nation Network. Didn't have that on my bingo card, did I?
Wait, what?
Village Honda, Northwest Auto Mall. Have I told you about the Accord, redesigned last year, chosen by Car and Driver Magazine as the #1 midsize sedan, one of the most reliable vehicles on the road, better than ever, superior ride quality, reliability, and impressive fuel economy thanks to the EL Hybrid. Saw Anthony last night. He says, hi, Rhett. All jacked up for the CPL final tomorrow, as it is Cavalry FC against Forge. Massive weekend. Jack's kind of quibbling here. If you want, it's me +1, but you would have to hang around with me, soccer and beer.
We could go to the pub, watch the Flames game, and then Uber down to the
World Star Oyster.
I'd love to, but no.
Yeah.
My kid's here. And you know what? If my dopey oldest wasn't around, I'd do it.
Cast a wide net, I guess. I see. Yeah. What do we got to get done? I think we got everything. Reminder to head out to nationgear.ca to bid up and secure those 25 tickets for the Rangers and Flames. Always fun when Adam Fox returns to town. Thank you to Jeff Marek for joining us. Keep an eye on your social feeds to see when his show debuts in December. Congrats to Eric DeHatchik on an incredible year. Football picks. Best of luck, everyone. I had the chance earlier today, Rhett, to chat with the commissioner of the CPL, Mark Noonan. He went to Duke. He was a national champion at Duke. We'll play that to end the show. But
wait. Did you say what time that the auction ends?
It was. It'll be 6 hours or so. I've got it right here. Give me a moment. Refresh.
4 or 5.
Looks like 5.5 hours from now. So
5 o'clock.
Yeah, get on there. Yeah, that's right. It will be exactly at 5 o'clock. The auction closes. We've already seen it jump a couple increments. Let's keep her going. Money going to a great cause. And Rhett, you're going to go. Full section to yourself. Wait till the last moment.
At that price.
That price. Enjoy the weekend. Jack, thank you so much. The commissioner of the Canadian Premier League, Mark Noonan, is in his third year now. He was employed 2 years ago. He's the second commissioner. He's here to take in Forge Cavalry tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Echo Field. He was at the awards last night. He's going to be having pints and shaking hands around town. A big weekend for the CPL as they showcase their two marquee franchises. Mark, we chatted with earlier. We welcomed him to Calgary for the weekend.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Last night, the awards ceremonies on the campus of Mount Royal University, and a lot of the league's, what would we call them? Brass, media, stars, players, coaches, and I guess enthusiasts were around. How was the first of a busy stretch of days here with the league's putting on a lot of events in Calgary here between now and the trophy being awarded?
That we are. It was a great night. What a beautiful venue at Mount Royal. I mean, just a spectacular setting for our awards, and incredible night honoring those players that you pay to see. And then getting the bonus of guys like Elijah Atakubi with his freelance rap was
Yes.
just incredible. And Jordan Wilson doing his thing in the crowd, and Andy Petrillo is such a pro, and KJ's a legend. And it was just a great showcase for our sport, our players, our clubs, our coaches, and a great night to kind of kick off what is going to be a great weekend for CPL.
Yeah, the headliners obviously the game. 1 p.m. Echo Field. It is the third time Forge and Cavalry will meet in the final. Cavs have been, stymied thus far. They are looking for revenge. They are looking to right the alleged wrongs of years past. I don't know that you could write a better script. Right since the season the league started, 2019, the first one, these two clubs separated themselves from the pack and immediately it became great rivals. The thought was, Calgary, Edmonton will be rivals. Edmonton FC never beat Calgary once, and the first time Forge and Calgary played, it got heated. There were sideline interactions. They always have produced thrilling matches. I don't know that it gets better than this right now for the CPL. Is this, if you could draw it up, it's going to be tough to beat this script.
No, it's awesome, and it starts at the top. It's the leadership that the Southern family and Ian Allison provided. Calgary, Mason Trafford, I know is a good friend of yours. The Hamilton Sports Group, led by Scott Mitchell, who's the managing partner. My board chair, Bob Young, who's a tireless advocate and fan of the sport. And then it trickles down to Tommy, obviously, who's done amazing things in building Cavalry, and Bobby on the Forge side, and then on the business side. It just they're two first-class organizations on and off the field, and that's why they're here this weekend.
I know when this league started, you weren't the commissioner. You're, I guess, now just early into year number 3. It was September 22 when you started.
Yeah, it's this is my third final.
Okay.
But been on the ground for a little over two plus years, and seen amazing growth, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, and I know when the league started, the plan was, hey, we could double in size in X number of years. Well, this many games, this many venues. No one had COVID in their risk planning. Odd. Yeah. No one saw that coming. Weird. But we still, one of the things I imagine you get asked about most is, what about expansion? We did see Vancouver FC enter the league this year playing Langley. We've seen a flirtation or a courting of sort between Kelowna and yourself with an exhibition game played there. We know that Halifax is a bit of an island out on the East Coast. You'd love to have a presence in Quebec, I imagine. How do you prioritize? How do you find the middle ground between what the original investors and partners of the league want, but also, a financial burden that is allowing teams to get in? It seems like there's been lots of interest, but the price that's been asked over the last 6 years might have been higher than people would like to see.
No, and that has nothing to do with that. I mean, the value is there. The biggest issue we have really is facility. And if you don't have the right place to play and showcase and celebrate the sport, we're not going to expand. And we're in active discussions. You'll hear about it later in my State of the League address. We plan on our goal is to add 2 teams in 2026 and continue that momentum. And you have to balance expansion with your product as well. We need to have the ability to produce enough great Canadian players, because, as you know, the majority of our roster is dedicated to the development of Canadian players. And if you expand too fast, your product gets diminished. And so you need to put this puzzle together in markets that we believe would be able to support the product. And I got to say, facilities in Canada are really, really hard. You have municipalities who don't believe in the value and the inspiration that professional sports teams provide to the development of youth. And we're breaking down those barriers. We're making great progress. I've got a woman named Marnie Dicker on my staff who is an infrastructure effort, and she's working tirelessly with the communities, with investor groups to put these really complex puzzles together.
Great ownership and great infrastructure. Would that be the top two boxes to check if you had your dream list of places to go?
Yeah, I mean, you see it here in Calgary. You've got great ownership in the Southern family, great management, a phenomenal facility that they built at Spruce Meadows. It's just I love going to that place. But it also, you need municipal support. You need the support of the local soccer community. You need the corporate support. And you need the supporters. You need the fans to say, "Hey, we want to be there." And that's why we did things like take CPL on tour to Kelowna to test and say, "Okay, Kelowna, you're an interesting market. You fill a great geography for us. It's a beautiful, beautiful city." And we tested it. We worked really closely with the mayor and his city staff and city councilors, and I think it was an overwhelming success. And it's a market that we believe could support a CPL club. The facility that we played in there, the Apple Bowl, is, I say this respectfully, it's antiquated. It's not something that we could do long term, and we're working with Kelowna to sort that out. And if we sort that out, I think Kelowna would be a phenomenal expansion market for us.
Nice to get 3 in BC, but yeah, the infrastructure point again continues to come up, doesn't it?
No doubt, no doubt about it.
Okay, let's continue to move. Your career, you played at Duke. You're a national champion. You've spent a lot of time in the U.S. In fact, some incredible years. I guess ups and downs, the roller coaster of Major League Soccer. Some of the early days. Walk us through your arrival with MLS to the state of the league when you left, and maybe how much growth you saw, or just how volatile it can be. These younger leagues that again you're now working for.
Yeah, building leagues is hard, and it's funny. When I was playing at Duke, all the best players in the U.S. were playing in college soccer because there wasn't a professional pathway. My teammate John Kerr Jr., who's actually the coach at Duke today, was the first American to play in the English Premier League because that's where you had to go. You had to go outside of the country in order to pursue your dreams and your aspirations, and that wasn't that long ago in the U.S. And Canada's a little bit behind that, but that's what we're doing in Canada right now. Craig Forrest doesn't have to go to Europe. Rob Friend, Josh Simpson, part of our ownership group, those guys had to leave Canada to go to pursue their dreams, and didn't have the development pathways that we're putting in place here. And that's the most important thing that CPL is doing, is we are the league of opportunity for young Canadians who want to pursue their dreams. And building leagues is hard. I don't care. 20 years ago, I was in a meeting at Phil Anschitz's ranch outside of Denver. We were this close to folding the entire league. And if it wasn't for great ownership like Phil Anschitz, Schutz, and Lamar Hunt and Robert Kraft, MLS wouldn't be here today. We went from 12 teams to 10 teams that you could pick up for $5 million USD. Wow. And Phil Anschitz owns 60% of the league.
So what year was that?
That was 2001.
So okay, that's crazy. So less than a quarter century ago. I look now, and there's 3 teams valued over $1 billion US, and those valuations aren't perfect, but it illustrates the opportunity that laid ahead at that point. There obviously had to be some pretty considerable storm clouds for people to think, let's just quit on this thing.
No doubt. I mean, the original Miami, we folded Miami Fusion, the Tampa Bay Mutiny, went to 10 teams. We're playing in these massive, not the right facilities, 78,000 seat Arrowhead Stadium with 800 people in it. The product was almost unwatchable to start, but you had to give it time, and you have to, and we're we're well beyond that state. And I fundamentally believe that there's never been a better time to invest in CPL and the whole Canadian soccer infrastructure right now, because we've built this beautiful, solid foundation, and now we're going to have this beautiful house on top of it. That over time, you want to be early in these things, not now. MLS, it costs you $500 million to get in, plus a stadium, plus designated players. That's a tough economic equation.
No question. Well, and again, the elephant in the room is that the World Cup's coming to North America in 2026. We all know that, and that we don't think that's going to hurt the popularity of the sport nor the credibility of Canadian soccer. And then you have this national team that went on an incredible qualifying run to the World Cup that was in Qatar under John Herdman, and now Jesse Marsh with an incredible Copa America this past summer. What is enthusiasm around the men's national team, and certainly the women who have had a ton of success as well? What does that do for your job with the CPL and Canada soccer business?
Oh, it's amazing. The national teams, are the driver of fan avidity from coast to coast. Everybody's a fan of that single team, and I would argue that if you combine the men's and women's national teams in Canada, and you combine their ranking and their quality, they're top 10 in the world, and only going to get better. What Jesse and the guys did in the Copa America wasn't a fluke. That is an incredibly talented team, and I think that they are going to make some noise in the World Cup. And as the more time Jesse has with them, they're going to be an incredible team. And the nice thing about it is the events that they play in, the Olympics, the World Cup, they've been on traditional linear television, and the ratings have been through the roof. There is an audience for soccer in this country that's being held back by these traditional linear cable operators that needs to be unleashed. And you'll see it when you kind of have to do it for the Olympics and World Cup. But we're working on that as we speak.
Yeah, your media rights are kind of free agents in a sense. There was a disagreement between the European rights holder and the league. Both sides suggested the other side didn't live up to the bargain. Probably best that you now own the media entity. But what options do you have moving forward? I know certainly we have moving away from traditional media and getting into the digital space, but there's also something comforting about an audience that is there on cable. You do have the final on CBC tomorrow afternoon, which I think is a great get for the league. Do you see any natural fits or like, how do you view these rights? Is it something you'd like to have held externally or hold internally?
No, here's the deal. So we're a rights holder, right? And rights holders want three things really. They want as broad distribution as possible for the product. They want that product to be valued. There's a lot of properties that will give the product away, and once you do that, it's really hard to put the genie back into the bottle. Once you start giving rights. So we've taken a long-term strategy. We have our rights held by a company called Timeless, 100% Canadian owned and operated. And we think that there's a strategy that probably has a bit of a hybrid to it. You see just about every league right now who is continuing to work in traditional channels, but also branching off into the streaming world. And if you look at where we are right now, we've got the two big legacy cable companies refusing to carry One Soccer, but then we have a phenomenal partner in TELUS, which is giving us traditional linear. We've got Fubo TV, and then One Soccer has done a phenomenal job. You think about a league like ours for 6 years, every single second of every single game has been made available to the fans. And I understand it's behind a paywall, but we think that the pricing is well worth the value of it, given the quality and the quantity of content that's being distributed there. But we need broader platforms, and I think the audience has proven to be there.
And I'll tell you what, like you mentioned off the top, Andy and KJ, it's an incredible cast of broadcasters you've got. This is not
such pros,
a subpar B team. Like you have some of the best in Canada, and certainly within the sport of soccer, absolutely the cream of the cream. It's impressive what you've been able to collect, and I think getting that in front of more eyes, I think people are going to be very accepting and keen on it. It's just a matter of getting them there, and Saturday's a big part of that. Final one for you. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and providing opportunities for former players too. Jordan Wilson, great player in the league. He's phenomenal. Craig Forrest, Jimmy Brennan, John Conway, all these guys that have contributed to the game professionally and now are able to continue their careers after they finish playing and do phenomenal things by bringing our fans into their world and how they see it as professionals. And it's it's part of this ecosystem that we've built. Calvary's got this the Sunset program, where a guy like Mason Trafford, captained the club, and now he heads up business operations for the club. And it's phenomenal to keep guys like that involved.
Yeah, no question. Himself, Nick Ledgerwood getting into coaching, Tofa Fakunle is GM. There's lots of that. It's
absolutely
incredibly well run. Okay, so you're 2 years into the job, a little more than that. You're less than 2 years away from Canada going nuts for soccer with the World Cup coming to North America.
Yeah.
Why don't we look towards 2030? It would be, almost a decade on the job, 6 years from now.
Wow.
You don't have to close your eyes literally, but figuratively close your eyes and dream. What would you love to see for this league? Spill some dreams out for us of what you think the CPL could be for Canadians.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to be a top 3 league in the region and to be able to challenge for the biggest trophies with the big legacy players in MLS and Liga Mexico, and that's our goal. I think that given the size of Canada as we expand, I wouldn't be surprised if we split into 2 divisions, played a little bit of an unbalanced schedule. It just only makes sense because it helps from a cost efficiency standpoint. Very expensive to fly around Canada, but it also helps with the wear and tear on players. It's a long way from Halifax to Victoria. That's a long flight. I think it's the second longest road trip in all of football. So I think you're going to see us 14, 16 teams, probably 2 divisions, and creating world-class players in this league. Because ultimately it's about the product. And we never ever will take our eye off of that ball. And you see, we are becoming the league of choice for young Canadians. And why is because they come into our league and they play against men immediately. They come into our league and they play games of consequence immediately. They come into our league and they get showcased in national championships and CONCACAF Champions Cups. And then we have never hesitated to move a player on. I mean, to Forge's credit, they moved on their world-class, hopefully world-class striker in Kwesi Poku. And, he, in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And Forge is still in the final. And
right.
So we need to continue creating players like that. Shola Jimo just got called into the Canadian camp. He's in the U17s. It's those sort of stories that as we expand, that pipeline of player development expands as well. And I think we continue working on our product, given the raw materials that are available in Canada. You see it from the national team on down, just phenomenal players. Moise Bombito, Kone, these guys the talent is in Canada, and it's going to start funneling through our league as we grow and expand and get into new communities.
Enjoy your time in Calgary. Enjoy the final tomorrow.
Thank you.
Great to see you last night, and congrats on what you've accomplished through 2 years and what lies ahead.
Yeah, aloha.
Thank you.
Take care.